Greetings, gamer guys and gals, and welcome back to Tutorial World. Now, as you guys noticed in the last video, I accidentally started off saying Tutorial Town, which was my bad. But yeah, I meant Tutorial World. So this time, well, I honestly didn't really know what I wanted to talk about this time. I know there was something I wanted to talk about at like a later time aside from like variables and switches and stuff, but well, I guess I can talk about more of this stuff in the event, like the event boxes here. I guess I can talk about this stuff. That's actually something I wanted to talk about too. So, you guys already know what show text does. We've already done that, and I've already showed you show choices too. Input number, this right here, this is basically what you would use for passwords. So, and that's why it says uses actor talk ID. Um, the input number, it's going to be the number of the variable here. So if you change the variable, like max variable, to like 9,999, so you have all of this down here, and let's say you wanted your password to be 4235. That's the password. So you hit that, you choose that variable 4235. Or no, not necessarily. No, you know what? I never mind. Ignore what I just said. I'm saying, okay, so this is so you created a variable. We'll make this say password. Okay, I was thinking of something else, and we'll say digits. We'll say 5 digits. So before that, you'd actually have to. This is another example of variables too. So this is where you would end up doing control variables. You'd go to that same one, password, and you would set it it's constant, let's say 28093. That's what you set it to, 28093. Well, that is the password, and in order to get it correct, let's do it that way. So insert number, password, 5 digits, and the password set to 28093. So in order to get it right, you'd have to, yeah, it's just basically doing for passwords and stuff. But passwords are a little. If anything, I will actually go over a video about passwords if you so wish. I'm not going to really go into it in this episode, but that's the basis of where you would start it. So that's input number. Select item. This is basically where like say you're doing something that's automatic or whatever, and you actually make it to where it automatically selects an item from your inventory based on a variable, which that's again is something variables are often used a lot for. So that would also be another yeah, that'd be another whole other episode. Show scrolling text. This is just text that does auto scroll basically. It's like if you do an intro at the beginning and you want your text to scroll, you can do it that way. So we've already done switches, variables, and I've showed you self switch. Control timer. This is where you have a timer set to where you can have the timer start at 0 minutes and 0 seconds, or have it set 5 minutes. Control timer, start 5 minutes, something like that. I mean, you could do plenty of stuff with timers too. I mean, I've seen people use timers for like, oh, you have this much time, and once it's out, you die, basically. So, we have conditional branch, I've already showed you. Showed you loop too. Break loop will make it to where you can have something going on through a loop, and it'll just keep going, but that's basically what conditional branches are used for, like the else and stuff. But you can have something keep going through a loop, but when another certain something happens, you can have a break loop to break it. Event, exit event processing. This basically just stops all events from running. I don't really use it that often. Common event, this is where you would activate a common event. Um, Labels, some people like to use labels to keep tabs on things, whereas like certain plugins might use labels. And then obviously you would jump to a label. Comment, this same thing. People like to leave comments, and but so party stuff. This is where you would change your gold, whether you added gold to your inventory or you took gold from your inventory. Same thing with items, weapons, armors, and your party members, changing how many party members you want in your party. And then this basically right here, this is where you would like change somebody's max HP. So if you wanted their HP to be higher or lower, I don't really do use this all too much. The change X, HP, MP, TP, their change state is like you want somebody to become poisoned outside of a battle. Like, say there was like swampy water and you had them walk through it, they can become poisoned because of that swampy water. That's how you would change their state. And then obviously recover all ins tend to use that, the recover all function. Change experience, there's really, I don't see really any point of this like changing any of their like stats or their experience and stuff. Change level, that would mostly be used for, let's say you you started off like if you created a variable based on the levels of your characters to where you wanted to change the level of like a fixed person based on a variable to where someone joins your party later in the game, but you wanted to be kind of around the same level as the other actors, you would end up using variables to try and keep track of how many, like when a character levels up, you'd add like a point to like a level up variable or something, so that way they will increase the same amount of levels and be somewhere around that same level as your other characters. So that's the whole point of like change level. Change parameter. That okay. Before I go to that, changing level. That's also to prevent it to like, oh yeah, you set this character to be like level 7 by default. So when you get them, they're level 7. Well, what if you decided to spam train and your character's level 13? Well, now you've got a character 6 levels lower than you. So that's why you would end up doing something like that. Change parameter. Again, it falls under the same thing. Like, are you really going to have an event that happens where all of a sudden, oh, your character's like speed or some other kind of thing went up, or their HP? I mean, it has. This is basically the same thing as like change HP. So, but usually people will do this for, like, say they got an item. I mean, you can create an item that adds 5 points to your HP or 20 points to your HP, stuff like that. Change skill. This is another thing. Like, this is, I mean, the only example I could think of where you would use change skill, like, say you have a character that will learn like you talk to a master of martial arts or something, and your character can learn a skill from this guy. You would talk to him and you would go through like the steps and stuff, and then you can learn a skill from this guy. That's how you can, that's why I would say you have change skill. Change equipment. This is something, for instance, let's say your character was trying to infiltrate something and they got caught and they had like their weapon and armor and stuff taken away. That's where change equipment comes in. Because you can actually remove, well, no. This is a equipment type. I mean, well, you could still do none. Well, no, yeah, you'd have to do it like several times. You'd have to do each character, like weapon, none, shield, none, all that kind of stuff, and you have to change your inventory too. But that's getting a little up there. But change name. This, for instance, uh, you would actually be able to type in a name you want to change to the character. Like they decide, oh hey, I just want to be called Mr. Thief or something, and then but there's that, and it's the same thing with change nickname and change class. Change class is really for like a job kind of thing.
Hey,
Hold on. Whoops, sorry about that, people. I completely forgot that I was still on Discord because I was playing a game with a friend of mine before this. But so as I was saying, change class is like for you have like for instance you well it's kind of hard to explain. It's more like you're literally changing from like a soldier to like an archer or something, and usually you can find um what am I thinking, plugins that like have like a job system to where you can actually manually change classes and stuff. Like you can earn job points for each class and learn new skills and stuff that way. So I mean, I've never really used some of these. Change nickname, same thing as name, and change profile. This basically changes what you want to be said in their profile. Moving on, movement. Now this is another thing that I'll have to show you at some point too. Like we've already covered transfer player. That's how you would move from one play, like one build. Like you go to the door of a building and you transfer inside that building. And set vehicle location is only if you want to change the location of a certain vehicle. Set event location. This also changes the location of an event. Um, I mean, yeah, you could definitely do this kind of stuff. I could see how it could be useful, but most people will just end up creating a new event for it anyway. I mean, you kind of have almost an unlimited amount of like variables and switches and stuff. Scroll map. This just makes it to where the map that you walk around on will it'll scroll without changing the players. Like so, you could walk to a spot, the player will stay there, but the map will take off without him. A lot of people use that for like cutscene based kind of stuff. Like the player will move up to a spot like he's sneaking up and he hides behind a tree, and then the map will move off of ahead and go to like two other characters so you can listen to them talk. That's what scroll maps for. Set movement route. This makes it to where you can have an NPC walk around in circles or walk towards you. Like if I go ahead and click on that, like you have player, this event like in certain other events. So if you had, say, event one was a human, and you stopped onto a spot and you wanted the person to move over towards you, you can literally just hit move towards player a lot, and they'll just instantly move towards you. And you can have wait for completion, meaning if they can't move, you'll be stuck and you'll have to wait for it to complete. But you can also have it set to skip if cannot move. So if you just hit this a ton of times and they got to you on this move, the rest of these will be canceled and then you will continue. So that's what's great about this stuff. This also is how you can make it to where let's see. I think I just hit delete. Yeah. This is also how you can make it to where a player can jump over a gap or something. There's a jump function. Excuse me, a jump function that changes the offset of the player, and they also have a jump kind of motion. So I wonder if it's been fixed, because there was one where it seemed like it was opposite. Like X positive was to the right and X negative was to the left, but for some reason Y positive was down and Y negative was up, or it was the opposite or something like that. But it was kind of strange. But jump, that's where you would use to jump and over gaps and stuff. Change speed and frequency. That's usually for um like if you wanted a character to look like they're running up to you, that's where speed and frequency. Speed is how fast they move, and obviously frequency is how frequent they move. If you change their speed to like the slowest possible and the frequency to the slowest possible, they'll literally take forever to move one step, and then they'll stop there for a moment and then take forever to move another step. But if you had the frequency or the speed all the way up, but the frequency still low, they'll literally move forward and stop. Then they'll move forward and stop. So speed is the speed that they move, and frequency is how often they move. So just keep that in mind when you're messing with speed and frequency. Excuse me. And then these are usually other stuff like transparent makes it to where you can't see them. Through makes it to where you can walk through them. Direction fixed makes it to where they can't turn any other direction than they're already facing. Stepping animation makes them walk in place. Like if you had a character who's all like moving really fast, like he runs up to you, you can literally make him run up to you and keep his walking animation going to where he looks like he's kind of jogging in place, like he's really antsy or hyper. Walking animation, you can actually, if you turn that off, it'll make the character look like they're just floating. So that's how you can make like a creepy ghost or something. Change image. This will just basically change their sprite from like a boy to a girl or something. Like if you had them spin around really fast to look like and then they change, it looks like they just threw off their costume or something. Opacity makes it to where you can see through them. Again, that's how you can create a ghost. Blend mode, I don't really use this too much. Like it just makes them end up looking like really weirdly colored and such. Sound effect, it'll play a sound effect. Like if you took a step, it would play a sound effect every time. You also have a weight here, and all of these are just kind of moving and turning. Like these are all movements, and these are all turns. So what's nice, you can have it turn towards the player, turn away from the player, turn it at random, always turn 90 degrees to the right or 180 degrees, basically stuff like that. So you can actually play around with that and get some good stuff out of there. Get on and off vehicle. This is actually a new one to this, which is kind of interesting. I've actually never seen this in any other program of RPG Maker, but I puts the player on a vehicle. If the player is already on a vehicle, it puts them on the ground. So it's like a force get on and off. Like if you moved, I guess if you moved over to a certain spot, like say you were doing a cut scene, and you put them on the vehicle, and it just keeps, and you have it where it flies to a destination automatically. You don't do anything, and then it would force you to get off. That's basically what that. So here's change transparency. This is for the character. Say you wanted it to happen at the very start, like that's basically what it is. Change player followers. This all this does is make it to where it either shows your party members following you or it doesn't. That's all change player followers does. Gather followers just makes it to where they will all stack up on top of you. So like if they were all kind of like around you or something, gather followers would make them all kind of bunch up onto you. It's pretty much what that is. Show animation. This plays in one of the animations you have on that event or on some certain event. So let's say somebody wanted to teleport away, you can have an animation to where it looks like they're teleporting. Balloon icon. This is where like you make it to where a question mark pops over someone's head, an exclamation point, an anger point, like sadness, darkness, poison, that kind of stuff. It's just a little bubble. And then there's obviously the erase event. It'll erase the entire event. This will show a picture on your screen. Let's say you used an item that's supposed to be a map. It'll show a map on your screen. But that's basically show picture. Move picture will cause the picture to end up moving any which way, direction you want. Rotating, obviously rotating. Tinting, tinting, and then erase. So we already know what white. Okay, so the weight, white. Screen, fade out screen. So this is basically, say you wanted to transfer to another area, you could do a screen fade out, or if a scene is over, you could do a screen fade out, and then you would fade back into it. Tint screen, this is usually what people will use to make it look like night and day. They'll have it tinted to a certain degree. Flash screen, this is like saying something epic is happening and the screen flashes and whatnot. And same thing with shaking screen for like earthquakes and such. Or flash could also be like lightning, and which could be used with weather effects. So this basically will give you rain, snow, and storm. So that's actually pretty cool. And then these are just um, playing songs, like background music, background sounds, music effects like the victory fanfare, or someone just got shocked, or you rested at an inn. And then sound effects, playing a sound effect like a dog barking or slashing at your enemy, and then to play a movie if you so have a movie. Scene control, battle processing. Battle processing is used for when you have a set battle. Like obviously on like in like say you're running around in the forest, it'll be like random encounters, but you can actually have it set for actual encounters to see. Like you can actually create an enemy and having them roam around, and you could battle them if you want, or you can avoid them. Battle processing is used for those actual set battles, where this is where you would end up setting up like which one, like Slime 2, Slime 3, that kind of stuff. This is destination is where designation with a variable. Like that's how you can also set this as random, kind of like 2, or have it set to a variable. Like if a certain number was at this point, it'll be this enemy or this kind of thing. And then random encounter, you can have it set to where a set battle is just a random encounter. Like say you walked into a spot and all of a sudden, hey, a monster just attacked, and you can just make it a random encounter. And you can also make it to where um, you can't escape from it. So, like, say if it was just a random enemy roaming in the woods, you can actually encounter them on accident and then end up escaping from them. And can lose. Basically, it means if you do lose, it's not going to be over. Like, the can lose makes it to where if it's a battle, you're supposed to lose. So, yeah, that's pretty much how that goes. And you can set it to where if you lose, this will happen. If you win, this will happen. But if none of these are ticked, it's basically a boss battle, meaning you can't escape, and if you lose, it's game over. So there's the battle processing. Shop processing, this is just opening a shop like for an item shop, in that kind of stuff. Not an inn, but a weapon shop kind of stuff. Name input processing. This is actually the cool thing. This right here is where you can actually, when you create a character, you can actually use name input processing, and this allows you to name the character at the beginning of the game. Like I did that on a previous thing I was working on where you can have it asked if you wanted a male or female, and then you can offer a name for each of them. So I had to use a name, like a default name of like Chris, so that when you name them or when you choose a gender, they can actually both be defaultly named Chris because that's an ambiguous name. So name input processing is if you want your player to actually be able to get to name the character. Open menu screen. This is like say an event requires you to look into your items for something, you can automatically make it open menu. Open save screen is if you have like a thing or person that can save your game and you can only save with them, you can go to open save screen. Obviously, game over screens, game over, and return to title. So, system settings. Usually, before you do a boss fight, you want to change the battle music. So, this is where you can change the battleground or the background music of the battle, and the victory music for the battle and the defeat music for the battle. This is also where how you can change the background music for the vehicle that you ride on. It also this will also make it to where you can change save accesses, where you can automatically have that set at the very beginning of the game to where you cannot save from the menu. You have to save from like a save point somewhere. Change menu access. This will make it to where you can't even access the menu, let alone the save menu. Change encounter. This will end up making it to where you can or cannot encounter enemies. Change formation is just makes it to where you can't like change the formation of your party members. Change window color. It's just when you're talking, you have the text. You can change a different color. Change actor image. This is something I had to do for when I had to change actors and stuff and it took me forever for like whenever you wanted to choose a male or female, I had to change the actor image for if you wanted a female or something. Change vehicle image. This is just if you wanted to have more than just 3 default ones. Change map name display. So this is basically when you created a map that had a certain name, but something happened in the town, or let's say you walk into a town and it had an unknown name and you talk to some people and you find out the name of the town, then you can have the change map name display. You can use that to actually have it set to the actual name of the town. Change tile set. I mean, like some instances where you can use this is like you walk into a house, it's all normal. Something happens, you walk into the house now, and the tile set's been changed to make it look different or damaged or something. Change battle back. This is what's used for, like when you're in a town, the battle back for when you're fighting an enemy is going to look like a town. So change battle back is often ended up using for, say, there were 2 parts of the town on the same screen. So when you walked past a certain point on the screen, the battle back would change. It's also commonly used on the overworld map. When you walk into a deserty area, the change battle back will make it end up changing to a desert, so it's not going to all be forest or something. Change parallax. This is an image that's used on the background behind the map. So if you didn't cover the entire map, like say you wanted a mountain but you wanted to look around into the distance, you can have a parallax background to where you can see a map back there rather than just a blank nothingness. Get location info, special coordinates on the map. I'm not entirely sure what this one. I've never actually seen this one before either. Huh. Gets information related to specific coordinates on the current map. Huh. I'll actually have to look into that one. I'm not entirely sure what that one does. So then you have the battle thing where change enemy HP. This usual stuff is commonly ended up used for, say the enemy was going to transform into a larger enemy. That's where you can change the enemy HP, MP, and all that stuff. And their change enemy state, like say if they transform, all states are cured, so they won't have any states. Enemy recover all, enemy appear. It's kind of the basic same thing. Like enemy appear is say if you're fighting an enemy that has like a skill that can call other enemies to it. Enemy appear will make it to where you can have a certain enemy from your enemy's list to appear when that first enemy uses that skill. Enemy transform, this is usually commonly used for like bosses. When you get them down to a certain HP, they'll transform, they'll be even tougher and stronger and stuff. Force action, this I want to say I know what this is, but I would need to forces the specified action. Ooh, basically this ends up taking let's see, either it'll make it to where the enemy does something or the actor will do something and they'll use a certain skill and they'll have a certain target. So I'm trying to think of how that can actually be used. I mean, a lot of this stuff can actually be used inside the battle too, and I'll show you that in a second. And this will just pull up a script or a plugin command, and more than likely you won't end up using these too often unless you actually have plugins and scripts. And then abort battle. Let's say the enemy runs away or something, or the enemy says something and all of a sudden the battle just ends. That's where they abort battle. So let me pull up what I just said. It's in the troops. Like, it's got this stuff right here, which I remember setting this up too. Oh boy, I had to paste this on every single one. this was just basically making it to where the actors and enemies will say certain things. But so let's say new page, and I open this up. See, you have all of this stuff here as well. You can use all of these events inside a battle as well. And that's basically how you make it to where you can start off of a battle where the enemy is saying, excuse me, the enemy is saying something. So it just really depends on what kind of stuff you're going for. You can pretty much tinker around with the stuff and kind of see how you'd like things to go and what ends up looking good for you. I'm going to delete that because I didn't use it. But yeah, so I didn't really have any ideas of what I wanted to do for this video, and I thought explaining each of these little commands, these event commands, might actually help some of you people out. You people, didn't mean to say it like that. Some of you guys to kind of, if you didn't know what certain things did, well, now you've got the kind of gist to it. But if there's any other things you guys like me to go over, please let me know. I'd love to help you guys out, and I'll help you any way I can. I really do enjoy making these tutorial videos for you guys, and I know there's going to be plenty of stuff that I'm going to cover. Maybe next time we'll actually do some more stuff with the town. Maybe get some more NPCs and maybe show you kind of like a series of stuff going on rather than just like, oh hey, I'm a person, nice to meet you. We'll have like an actual string of something. So maybe we'll go over something like that. So with that said, I think that's going to be it for this video. If you enjoyed watching and if you learned anything, please like and comment down below and subscribe if you're new. Got some other stuff planned for this. And yeah, I will see you guys in the next tutorial world.